What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? You already know what time it is. This is your boy, the historian in the building. Hey, pull up a plate, go ahead, put a little something on it, hit that like and subscribe button. We got the pregame meal here, y'all. Check the link in the chat. This is for fans to come in and open it up. Let's get it. BirdCage. Hey, what's going on? You already know what time it is. This is your boy, the historian. You either get right or you get left. We're in the pregame meal show talking about the Broncos and the Falcons today and everything else football worthy today. Let's go ahead and get it. So, the Falcons are coming into this ball game right now, 6-4, looking to go 7-4 going into the bye week. And this will be huge for the Falcons to go ahead and hit it up today. So today we got to get this win. Today we have to get this win today. No chances of slipping up because once you get this win, you go into the bye week with momentum. Outside of the momentum that you would have, you also have the Falcons being in the chance to continue to stay in front of the driver's seat. So when you look at it, this is a game that we got to have. And then we're going against one of our old nemesis when you talk about Sean Payton, who understands the Falcons inside and out. Now, when you talk about Raheem Morris, he already has a little bit of a knowledge of how Morris is because you got to remember, he coached against Coach Morris when Morris was a head coach for Tampa, and then he also coached against him when Morris was in Atlanta. So he understands how he thinks. These guys know each other. These guys know each other. So at this point, it's just one of those things where you sit back and say, well, damn, we definitely have to come in here and set the tone early, being on the road, dealing with the high elevation. That's hard. If you've ever been to Colorado, it's hard to breathe and you have to get used to it. So when you talk about everything else that goes on, there's many things that have to go right in this game. The main thing we have to do is control the line of scrimmage. That is the main thing we got to get ready to get done. I'm gonna open this up for everybody to come in a moment and let folks come in, but you know how I pretty much get it done. But when you really look at how the Falcons are at this point, the Falcons are really one of these teams that have to run the football. You've got to control the line of scrimmage. They're playing a similar defense to us because they run a 3-4 defense as well. So we all know there are deficiencies with that when you have a solid running game and you're able to control the line of scrimmage. We've got to put ourselves in a position to where we can control the line of scrimmage. We have to let Bijan and Tyler Algier get going. Then on top of that, you got to use your tight ends. Got to control the middle of the field. That's on the offensive side. The defensive side of the ball, control the running game. Slow them down. If you can't slow down the running game, you have to control the middle of the field with passing. If you can slow down the middle of that field, pretty much the middle of the field, and you got the passing, it's just one of those things that you sit back and say, well, damn, we got to make this happen. We've got to make this happen. We've got to make this work. And it's got to be in a situation to where you can trust these guys. Before I let folks in, I also got to talk about the injury report. We got a lot of guys hurt and banged up at this point. A lot of guys hurt and banged up. And when you talk about the injuries at this point, you got to look at everybody that's out right now. You have to look at everybody that is out right now. And it's sad, but then you got to also understand this is a long season. 17 games is a long season. So ahead of this matchup, I'm going to go ahead and talk about a little bit of the guys, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring in guests or whatnot, fans to come in. You can talk about what you like, dislike, what you're looking forward to, and just really just trying to get everything out in that situation. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this up real quick before I start bringing everybody in. So we can definitely talk about that. I want to give a shout out to everybody that's tuning in on YouTube, everybody that's tuning in on X, everybody that's on Facebook, and any of our other platforms that you are streaming on. So this week, we're pretty much in a situation to where you got Lorenzo Carter. He had full participation. Drake London still got that hip pointer. He probably might be limited. Kirk Cousins, right shoulder, right elbow. He should be fine to play. Tyler Algier, his quad. So we might not get much of Algier today. Ryan Newsell, his calf. You got Lindstrom with his knee. Dahlman's coming back. He had full participation as well, but he's a little banged up with his ankle. Zach Harrison with his Achilles. Grady with an Achilles. And then you had limited participation with Trey Anderson. And then you had Mooney with a knee and an Achilles. Mooney's Achilles and Anderson's knee. So the other thing that you have to look at are the guys that did not participate, from D. Alford, Mike Hughes, Antonio Hamilton, Bertrand, James Smith-Williams, Charlie Warner, and Taquan Graham. These are guys that you really have to look at and say, well, most of the guys that are hurting right now are not going to be coming in. So when you're looking at this, it's like, all right, we have to use the depth that we have. Got to use Kevin King at that safety spot. Got to put guys in a position to make some things happen. So there are many intricacies to this ball game that could affect us if we don't execute. So just a little something, a little appetizer for you guys. I got William in the building this morning. What's going on, man?
Going on, man? Good evening, man.
Evening, boy. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You talking about some evening, man? Wake your ass up.
Yeah, but
what's up, man?
Man, like you hit the point, man. This secondary got to step up and next man up mentality. I think they should use Richie Grant in the nickel package. I don't know if we use three safety sets, but I feel like we need to put Clark Phillips III in the part of the nickel and put Richie Grant as a corner too, because we kind of banged up right now. And I understand Richie Grant never played corner before, but I feel like he can cover them big body wide receivers. So I know Bo Nixon, he like to do a lot of read option and he like to scramble with his legs, and we have to contain him. So it's gonna be important for Matthew Judon and Wayne's one-on-one matchup, Gray Jerry, to free up some happening in the middle, and hopefully that our secondary can hold up a little bit. AJ Terrell lock down Curtin and Samuel, because they throw him a lot. So I need AJ Terrell to try and give me one in the shots or PI or something like that. Just play fundamental football and don't let them have the big explosive plays for me. And for offense, man, fast start, man. I know we want to air it out, but this game we got to run the ball with Bijan Robinson, feed the hot hand that feeds you, man. So Bijan Robinson is leading the league and rushing. A lot of teams don't know that, so we need to run the ball and keep Kirk Cousins upright. I don't feel like we should be passing happy this game, because they know that we kind of like to do that a lot. They're trying to create some habits, so we got to run the ball and eat the clock up and keep their offense off the field. That's my key to victory.
So when you really look at it, there are a lot of things that we say, and there's a lot of things that we have at this point. And what's going on, Kool-Aid, Nando, realistic one? Appreciate y'all for tapping in this morning. I got the link in there if y'all want to come in and chop it up with us this morning. But I mean, this afternoon. But I'll say this: we have to start using other players. We got to start using some of these other receivers. I've been saying Chris Blair and Kadero Hodge are two guys that you can use. Casey Washington needs to be used, because at this point, we need Mooney down the stretch. I'm not willing to risk getting Mooney hurt with an Achilles. I mean, I'm okay with letting him sit this week. I'm okay with letting Drake sit this week with a hip pointer, even though he had participation. Or if you're going to limit Drake's snaps, I'm fine with that, because again, 17 games is a long season, and that's not including the playoffs. We just saying 17 games. Then you add in the postseason, depending on where you're seating. If you got a wild card game, you get through that. Then you got the divisional game. Then you got the freaking NFC championship game. Then you have the Super Bowl. So that's 4 extra games on top of it. So that's 21 games in a season. 21 games in a season. So it's a lot longer of a season, and you have to have guys that can come in with depth perception to be able to assist you with being able to win ball games, or at least being able to come off the bench and have some solid production to help you continue in the trend of winning ball games. That is something that has to continue.
Yeah, I agree
So
with
at
you.
this point, I think the Falcons have to lean on, they're going to have to start leaning on some of these guys that are special teams players and guys that are on the bench at this point, because our main guys are getting banged up. They're getting banged up. We got Drew, you got Drew Dalman coming back.
Yeah,
Hen Dog got cut, and then you had Ryan Newsome who was balling out. So again, I understand what it is. You got to keep the fresh bodies coming through, and you got to keep guys with reps. You got to keep them wet. Like, this is a game we need to see Dorless in. Even if it's limited packages, he should have already been playing, because we need to
I
see
agree.
what we need. We need to see what we have, because guess what? Trice is coming back on and off of a knee injury, so we don't know how that's going to be. It takes a full year mentally and physically to come back off of a serious injury like that. And you're talking about a 300-pound that's coming off of this. So again, he's got to get back in the swing of things, and then you got to start building the depth. You got to see what you have. You got to start building the depth. You got to start cutting bait with some guys that are here that aren't producing at this point next year. It's a lot of rotating. It's a lot of factors that go into this.
I know, I agree with you, man. I think they should do that, right? Because Raheem, I understand he only done that money, and Drake, they all good players. So I don't think you should take that risk of playing them like all the snaps. I feel like he should limit them like the close to 25 snaps and just put Cardell Hard, like you said, and Casey Washington in there. And for us, man, I feel like they should use the other running back out of Alabama. You let him get some snaps. I know Tyler just kind of banged up too with a quad injury, so that quad injury kind of something tricky because you could pull something. You don't want him to tear
Well,
up, pull
well,
anything.
here's the thing with the quad injury, it's a lot safer than that Achilles. With an Achilles injury, you're talking about right behind your foot, right behind your ankle, the
Mm,
little strap.
yeah,
It's like I said, it's one long ligament. And the thing is, if it's stretched, you let it heal back on its own. You don't, and you go to rehab, you put the strength back into it, you let it naturally heal. But when you're starting to have issues with that, you need to step off of it, because the more stress and strain you put on it, the more than likely it can pop. And I mean, we've seen in this day and age, I've never seen that many Achilles injuries that we're seeing now. The first time I saw an Achilles injury was when Dominique Wilkins popped his Achilles versus the Philadelphia 76ers back around 92. That was the first time I ever saw that. I was in kindergarten and I didn't know what was wrong. And that was the first time I heard about it, and then heard about it again when Isaiah Thomas did it at the end of his career in 94. So with that being said, we're seeing that the technology is a lot different back then than it is now. Even though Neek came back and was still averaging over 25 points a game at that point, was still balling, it still took a lot away from his game. So when you're looking at a basketball player, imagine a football player that's got to run, tackle, or run and block, run and cut. Drake is in a position where he's running and cutting all the time, and
yeah.
so is Mooney. So their money is made off of their feet and their legs and their hands. That's what their money's made off of. So if there's something wrong with that Achilles, you got to sit him down.
Yeah. But one more thing, man, I feel like they need to use Kyle Pitts, man. I understand Kyle Pitts is not having a good year this year, but they got to take advantage, man, because I don't. They linebackers can't cover in tight ends, man. I watched some of the highlights with the Broncos. They they like to use a lot of like the zone blitzes and a lot of man like tight windows a lot. So I feel like they need to use Kyle Pitts on them seam routes and a lot of corner routes, man. Because I don't think they linebackers could cover tight ends. They struggle because Travis Kelsey had a touchdown, even though they limit him to 68 yards, but he still got a touchdown in the end zone. I know he a big body tight end, but I think they should use Kyle Pitts because Kyle Pitts got that height and speed advantage. So if I'm Kirk Cousins, you need to try to make Kyle Pitts blocking a little bit in the run game and use him out like in the middle of the field, trying to stretch the field out and get him some yards after catch because we need that, man. I need Kyle Pitts to step up this game here.
Well, here's the thing. Kyle has to be in a position to where he has to not just produce in catching the football or at least running his routes. He's
Mm-hmm.
also got to produce in blocking. Charlie Warner is an all-around tight end. No, Warner don't have the speed that Kyle does. We know this. But the one thing I know about Charlie's a hell of a blocker, hell of a special teams player, and he's a guy that can make tough catches. We saw that when he was at University of Georgia balling.
Yeah.
We saw this when he was in San Francisco. He wasn't going to get no start over Kittle. Let's be real. Anywhere else, he would have been able to possibly get the starting job somewhere, or even a high second string job where he's getting a ton of reps. You understand what I'm saying? But when you come into a situation where you got a guy that was drafted first round, or you go to a situation of San Francisco where you got a guy in Kittle who has been the man and been the fixture there before you got into the league, you got to understand the politics of it. It's just what it is. At this point, Pitts has got to play a hell of a lot better. I'm sorry. He's had some good games this year, and he's produced when the ball was put in his hands. But you also have to put him in a position to where he can help you win these ball games, period. So outside of Pitts, I'll have to say I think the next thing that's going to be key, as I said before, is the line of scrimmage, being able to control it. And when we're talking about Kirk Cousins, he's hurt right now. A lot of people are itching to see Michael Penix at this point, but here's the thing. Right now, you got Caleb McGarry blocking on Penix's blind side. He's been good for the past 2 to 3 games. He's been back, minus last week against New Orleans. He's been solid. No penalties, no sacks were given up until the New Orleans game. So again, you really don't want to put your rookie out there unless you have to. I get he can run, but let's be real. Left-handed quarterback, and his back is turned. Guess what? That's his blind side. You don't want his blind side. You really don't want his blind side being jacked up at this point. And you don't want his confidence being shot. Because if you look at all the quarterbacks that have been first-round picks, quarterbacks that have been franchise quarterbacks, most of the quarterback class from last year and this year, they all sitting on the bench right now.
Right.
Penix is the only one that ain't played yet.
But I feel like Penix should be ready by like next year, close to third year, because you know that quarterback need experience, and I think Penix he in a good position. Ain't like he rushed the play. But like I said, Kirk Cousins, I just feel like Kirk Cousins need to control this ball game and not make mistakes, because we cannot allow Kirk Cousins to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Like the ball need to be out, because the defense is like getting pressure rate in 2.6 seconds or something like that.
Agreed.
I want Kirk Cousins to hand the ball to Bijan Robinson and use Bijan Robinson in wheel routes, put him in the slot with linebackers and safety. You got to spread Bijan Robinson out. So we got to be creative this game here. I expect this Falcons, my close prediction, 24. I think probably Broncos 17. I just think we limit Bo Nixon and we stop their run game early and force them to pass. We got this game under control.
But here's the thing that I've been trying to tell people. Bo Nix is who we know he is. Bo Nix is who we know he is. And when you talk about Bo was a guy like at Auburn. Bo was a guy that was just up and down, up and down, up and down. He gets to Oregon. He has consistency. Then, when they put pressure on him, then we got to see the old Bo Nix come back. But when you go to look at him now, he actually has a coach that understands how to coach quarterbacks. Exactly. Remember this. Breeze, here's the thing that makes him and Breeze similar. Breeze was a running quarterback. A lot of people forget that Breeze used to run before he hurt his shoulder. Breeze tore his rotator cuff in San Diego when he was with the Chargers because Phillip Rivers, here's the thing, Phillip Rivers doesn't get drafted if Breeze never gets hurt. Phillip Rivers never goes to the Chargers. Breeze never comes to the Saints or even goes to the Dolphins for a physical. People don't realize that Nick Saban, the reason he went back to college football was because of the fact that the Miami Dolphins screwed up Drew Brees' physical. And that became a pain in the butt for us later. And when they didn't give him Brees, he ended up leaving and saying, the hell with it, I'm going back to college football. And that's when he went to Alabama and started the dynasty. Breeze goes to New Orleans, and we know what the rest was, because we had to deal with him for X amount of years. So again, when you look at Bo Nix Bo has a lot of the same intangibles as Breeze. Breeze was up and down in college, just like Bo was. When he got a coach that actually taught him how to be a consistent quarterback, Breeze was a problem. Nix is just learning this now. He's just starting out. He's starting his career out with Sean Payton right off the bat. So it's not like he's coming from the Marty Schottenheimer system and going elsewhere. He's coming in and he actually has a familiarity with that. So he's going to know that system. But the thing is, it depends on how long Sean Payton plans on coaching too, because I know Payton ain't going to coach for another 20 years. So the thing that I think we should do this week, as you said, you have to have gap containment and you have to figure out ways how to blitz against this Denver Broncos offense. You got to figure that out.
Yeah, like I said, man, I don't like I said, I don't have nothing against Sean Payton. I just don't like Sean Payton. He's kind of stubborn. How he did Russell Wilson. I understand he's a good coach. He's 3-0 right now. He beat everybody in the division. But I expect us to come in there and execute on high levels. We got to come out fast winning. We got to put points on the board. I know it ain't gonna be easy, but we got to start running the ball early. Spread Bijan Robinson out. Just use our tight ends and blocking and sometimes I told you like running back screens, tight end screens. Just get everybody movement involved. But like I said, I don't think fans don't know. Broncos think they're gonna blow us out, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Like I
Well,
said,
here's the thing: the way that our defense has played in the past couple of weeks. I mean, let's be real. I see the deficiencies. We all see the deficiencies in this defense. The thing is, can Jimmy Lake limit some of the we're not going here's the thing. The defense is not going to be fixed in 2 or 3 games. It's not. What's going to happen is he's going to have to scheme like he did last week, because in the second half we put the clamps on New Orleans. He's going to have to scheme to put the clamps on the Broncos offense and actually slow them down and give our offense chances to steal possessions and actually have a chance to put points on the board. Not by a field goal, but touchdowns. Now, Young Wei Koo at this point, he's in a slump. He's in a slump, just like a batter. Anybody watch baseball, you know, it's power hitters and home run hitters, they get in slumps. He's in a slump right now. You know, and at this point, we're not going to get a kick off the street that's going to be able to produce like that right now. Now, if we do, thank God.
But I think Koo gonna bounce back. But overall, I don't think we should use Koo this game.
We don't need. We shouldn't have to. But if we do, we got to do what we got to do.
Yeah, because this is an important game for us going bye week. Because I don't want to give the Broncos no hope of playoff chances. Like, I understand Vegas got them 2.5 favorite. The fan, like people in Denver, I text them in the chat. They're like, man, we're gonna block the Falcons. They think this is the same Falcons, but I need, like you said, I need Jimmy Lake to use corner blitzes, strong safety blitz, free safety blitz. We need to do a lot of have our DBs come back because our front seven's not hitting home. So I need some of my DBs to come out blitzing, trying to get out of Bo Nixon. If he do trying to scramble or trying to hold the ball for 5 seconds or 4, just get after him, grab up and tackle him for loss, man. Because this is gonna be a critical game. We need a lot of 3rd and 15s and 3rds and 20s on the Denver Broncos, all sides on their side, especially on our side, but. Overall, man, like I said, I like our offense more better because we got a veteran quarterback in Kirk Cousins. We got better weapons than the Broncos, and I think for us, we got to start the run because we've been struggling against the run because they might try to run the ball this game. I don't think they're gonna try to air it out this game, but I expect them to run the ball a lot too. They're trying to be like us, trying to eat the clock up. So it's gonna be both important on both sides. All 3 phases got to step up, and I'm not using Cool unless we need if we 3 and out or something, we put them on the 30 or 20, but I'm not putting them on 40 and 50. This game and the game going to be windy, so it's kind of cold up there in Denver right now.
And here's the crazy part with the whole thing that you're saying, Kool-Aid. I hear what you're saying on that one, but here's the problem that hurt us last week. The problem that hurt us last week was our safeties weren't in position to make plays. That was what kind of hurt us last week. But then when Jimmy Lake figured out how to put our safeties in different spots or whatever, it changed. So what's going to have to happen is he's going to have to figure this out early in the ball game so we're not hurt, because they got another wide receiver that's like Valdez-Scantling, who hurt us last week. They got one in Denver like that. Sean Payton keeps a speedy receiver on the roster that's got hands. So the way that they're going to have to use it, they're going to have to start using Jesse Bates as a roamer as he was last year. And you're going to have to put Simmons in the box, and you're going to have to start sending him on some blitzes too at times. You're going to have to, because if you can throw off Sean Payton and not be stubborn with what you're doing, it's going to make life a hell of a lot easier, honestly. It's going to make life a hell of a lot easier. And like, let's be real. Like, I'll use this as a great example. We got many Georgia fans in here. We got some Tennessee fans in here too. Now, the Dogs last night, they got that win, and we still playoff bound.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's something similar with the Falcons and the Dogs if y'all ain't paying attention. The difference is the Falcons can run the ball a little bit better this year than the Dogs, and that's rare. That is rare. Yeah, so let's talk about it. You look at the quarterback play, it's still it's consistent, but remember this, Beck didn't have that many weapons. What's up, Ron? Beck didn't have that many weapons like that. You know what I'm saying? Kirk walked into a situation and had weapons. Big difference. Beck is playing with what he has right now. Our defense is up and down. 1 week you'll get a gangbuster. The next week you're going to get a defense. You're looking like, okay, can you get a stop? Can you get off the field on third down? That is the similarity between the Falcons and the Dogs. The defensive side of the ball is very similar because you can have one guy to take off with blitzing, being disruptive, and then the next week the defense is MIA on the back of a milk carton. But I feel like in this game, I believe that I believe that the safeties are going to be the key to this ball game coming up.
I said it. I see
just like last night with the Dogs. If people didn't pay attention, the safeties was active last night. What's up, Ryan?
I think this Justin Simmons coming out party, he's going to get 2 picks in this game. He's going back home to Denver, Colorado, where he was playing at, and he feels some type of way. You cannot tell me he don't feel some type of way when they cut him or let him go. So I think he's gonna get 2 picks in this game.
You say he's gonna get 2 picks in the game. I got him with 1, but the guy that I feel like gonna make the key pick in this game is gonna probably end up being Clark Phillips 3rd.
Oh yeah,
that's who I got coming up big in this game.
They need to go ahead and put Clark. And I think he active. I think they should put him in. They already put him on nickel, but they got Kevin King on corner too. I know Kevin King. He all right. He's coming from injury, but Kevin King sometimes be off coverage. Sometimes I don't think we should play off coverage. We need to play close up to the line of scrimmage, like man to man, a lot of press coverage this game. I don't want us to play off the line of scrimmage because we easily get teams 5 to 10 yards by doing that. So overall, man, it's gonna be a tight game, but I like the Falcons got the edge a little bit. I said 24-20 or 20-17.
Now look, we talk Falcons football in here, but we also we sprinkle a little college football in here. We gotta throw this in here because a lot of good ball has been played for the last couple of weeks, and there's parity all across, and there's so much talent that's about to come out into this draft. It really can help affect the Falcons next year. And that's why I want to talk a little college football with you guys. When you look at it, like last night, BYU got popped last night by Kansas. It was no surprise. Kansas was already, even though they're bad, they've always been tough. You look at, we talked the Tennessee and Georgia game yesterday, but I still think one of the biggest games of the day yesterday outside of Tennessee and Georgia was the Oregon game last night. You got one of the teams that's got a ton of talent, and they barely got out of Camp Randall last night with that win. And when you look at it, the one thing I can say, we're looking for edge rushers. We're looking for guys that we can bring in, right? One thing I can say about Oregon and Dan Lannon, they got some edge rushers. They got some.
I want to ask you guys, what pass rusher, like you just said, Ryan, should the Falcons get in this draft?
I got
Who
two.
switch out to y'all?
I got one. I'm gonna give you a linebacker, and I'm gonna give you an edge rusher right now. Linebacker wise, I'm gonna tell you, you gotta go get Jalen Walker out of Georgia. I'm not saying this because I'm a homer, but you gotta get him because we need linebacker depth for number one. And the kid is a versatile linebacker, like N'Kobe Dean is up in Philly right now, balling. When you look at it, Jalen can sit on the edge. He can go get the quarterback and rush. He could play in the middle if you need him to, and he also can play on the outside, which is his primary position. So if I'm looking to bring in a player, I got to bring in a Swiss Army knife type of player right along with Troy Anderson right now. Anderson's still learning how to be a linebacker, but once he figures it out, and it's going to take him time, I really believe that you pair him with guys that know what they're doing. He learns from them. He's a sponge. And I think you bring in an experienced edge rusher / linebacker, I think that helps out. But I think if we draft anybody, I really think we need a real defensive tackle, a big boy in the middle. If we gonna draft somebody,
I'm glad you said that because I forgot this dude's name. Shout out to Nate. The Nate put me on this dude. He from he played at Kentucky.
Oh, you're talking about the defensive tackle at Kentucky. Last name, I think it was Walker. I forget. I had to check that out. But yeah, he gave Georgia problems.
Right. Shout out to him because that dude good. Now the problem is, do you get him first?
Walker.
See,
Deion Walker. I forgot his first name, but I know his last name is Walker.
But yeah, shout out to him. This is my problem. Do you draft him first, or do you draft a Walker from Georgia first?
My thing is you go get I think you go get your defensive tackle first. That's what you do. You get your defense because you got to build from the inside on out. If you can't get him, you need to be looking at other defensive tackles first. That is what you need to draft. You need to get a big boy in the middle. If you get your big boy in the middle, then you go get your edge rusher because there's tons of guys out there. And all I'm saying is if you get the D tackle first, it's plenty of linebackers to go. But if it's a linebacker that you really, really need to have outside rusher linebacker, go get him. But I say build within the trenches first and get that defensive tackle first and build up and keep every year. You need to be drafting defensive tackles every year. You need not defensive tackles, defensive linemen and offensive linemen. You at least, if you're not going to go heavy in that, you at least need to get one of those each year, one player each year on the line.
I know he did not do nothing yesterday against us. The kid from Tennessee, Valdez. But
James Pierce has never done anything against Georgia since he's played. You do know that, right? No sack. He's never had a sack against Georgia.
Never?
Nope. He's never had a sack against Georgia.
Wow.
That's 3 years. But Pierce is one of the top linebackers in the country, though, / edge rusher.
So, what I'm saying is you cannot beat Georgia. Is you really that good or is you really that bad?
But it depends on what system he's in, too. Because if we get – I look at it like this. We've been complaining about players that off the edge. We've been complaining about our players in the defensive tackle spot. We've also complained about players on the offensive line. I'm going to forever say you got to build the trenches up at this point. You got to forever build the trenches up because that is how you're going to win championship ball games. That is how you're going to win playoff games. Control the line of scrimmage. Everything else falls into place.
To me, it just, trust me, I wish we could draft from Georgia every year. The Georgia be having the Bulldogs.
I ain't just saying that, but I'm gonna give you something else we could possibly draft next year. I ain't gonna say all just because Georgia, because we homers for that. But I'm gonna give you a kid that you could bring in that, to me, I feel like can impact the secondary if we get him. And I know it might sound far fetched. We ain't drafting that high, but I give up the house to get him. Go get Travis Hunter. Go get Travis Hunter.
Oh yeah, we need.
Oh, Will, you popped in as soon
I
as I
agree
said
with,
Travis Hunter. You was
Walker.
quiet for a minute. As soon as I said that, you popped in with that one.
Yeah, for real, because Mike Hughes, man, I understand. We need that veteran leadership, man. Be honest with you, man. Mike Hughes injury.
I take Mike Hughes over AJ Terrell, bro. Mike also played a little banged up last year too. I ain't making no excuse for it because he stepped out there. But when you talk about it, physical, smart corner, Mike Hughes really has had a better year than AJ, minus the injuries that he had.
How do y'all feel about AJ brother?
He just got to college.
Yeah, he to me,
just
man.
Got to college, dog.
Yeah, no, I know that, but do y'all think he's gonna be better than AJ Terrell?
I don't know. The verdict is still out. We gotta watch more and see. If it's anybody that I'm looking at this point, when you talk about in the cornerback spot, I keep telling you, I'm looking all around. The next places I'm starting to look, again, I'm looking at HBCUs at this point. Because I can tell you right now, quarterback-wise, when you talk about bringing in depth, everybody's like, well, we got to have a backup. Okay, I got one for you. There's a kid at South Carolina State right now, at South Carolina State, starting quarterback who they have. And he is a monster. He is a monster at that quarterback spot. And a lot of people don't know much about it unless you watch HBCU football. The kid's name is Eric Phoenix. He's out of Savannah, Georgia. And the kid is a monster. Yeah, he from around your way, William. He from around Savannah. He at South Carolina State right now. 6'3", 205 pounds, and nasty at that quarterback spot. I'm looking at it like this. Look, Penix is going to be your future. But guess what? You have to have somebody behind him in case anything happens. Because think about it, fellas. How many injuries have we seen this year taking guys out?
We've seen a lot of injuries this year. A lot.
And I tell people, you're one hit away from having to have a replacement. You're one hit away from having to have a replacement to come in.
And especially our offensive line, the way they sometimes they show up and sometimes they don't show up. So I think we gotta fix that too. Our offensive line.
Yeah, I think we need to go ahead and drop into left tackle because Jake Matthews. I think Jake Matthews will retire after this year, man. Because that's the one who probably played all games. Jake Matthews really wasn't banged up. He played every snap this year. But we need to focus on the future, trying to get us some young depth on left tackle and on right tackle, man. Like
I
Walker
agree with
said,
you on this.
Now, do y'all think we should trade down with our first pick, or y'all think?
I think we should trade up.
I'm all about controlling the trenches, fellas. And I wanna show you guys a little something in a sec. But before I show it to you, I wanna give a shout out to the legendary college coach, Mr. John Robinson. He passed away recently. John Robinson is one of the best to ever do it. Won national championships. Hell, we got one of our great running backs in the Falcons organization, Mr. Lynn Kane, played for John Robinson at USC. So he helped win a national championship in '78 with the Trojans, but Robinson came into the NFL. He's the reason we got it. We had Eric Dickerson in the league at the time. He drafted. So when you look at John Robinson, he's one of the pioneers of this game, and he consistently believed in running the football. That was something that was beautiful. Him and John Madden were best friends. So they're both at the pearly gates standing together, laughing and cutting up. So, but before that, I want to go ahead and show you a little something. I always talk about line of scrimmage play. Yes, I'm a historian. I know I show old stuff, but I also show new stuff. But this is just a true statement that you have. So I got a little something I'm going to show you guys. It's from a video, NFL's Crunch Course, for all my NFL fans that watched NFL films growing up. This was something that John Robinson and a lot of guys talk about when they talk about the line of scrimmage. And I feel like the Falcons have to have the same type of performance every week. So fair use. This is NFL's Crunch Course line of scrimmage portion.
It is called the pit, an area not much bigger than a closet. Yet within its confines is the game's most heavily weighted struggle.
In spite of all the specialization, in spite of all the attention that the quarterbacks get, the game is really played up front. More or less right in the trenches, as everyone says, because when you assume and gain control of that part of the field, it allows you to do what you want to do.
It's not so much who gets across the other side, it's the force and the power and the balance and the ability to dominate the man after you make contact.
So that was the legendary John Robinson. I'm going to play it because you know we got to stop it so we don't get cut. But as John Robinson was saying, like I always learn, and it's just if you understand physics, two objects can occupy a space at one point. Two objects can occupy a space. But what object is going to have the most force, the power, and pretty much the most leverage coming in? So when you look at that, that's one of those things where you sit back and you just say, okay, it's going to be a long day. The Atlanta Falcons have one of the most physical offensive lines of all time. And yeah, they showed the Hogs on that one, Kool-Aid. But when you look at the way that the game is played, this is one part of the game that has never changed. It never will change at any level. Blocking schemes, yes. But when you talk about the physicality in the trenches, that'll never change. That's part of the game. It's called domination. What you got, Ron?
Nothing.
Hey, what's going on, Anna? My boy. Shout out to my guy Anna on X or whatnot, the X platform. But we getting back to it. I'm gonna go ahead and let you see the rest of it so you can see what it looks like right on the spot. Fair use, fair use, fair use.
It's a physical combat area. It's not like playing in space. It's not like being detached and running down the field to catch a football. It's not like a linebacker taking a drop and squaring up, playing the ball when it's in the air. This is hit, hit, hit on every play.
But offensive players are like brain surgeon type. They're very careful. They think things out.
So that was just a little video I wanted to show you guys of the trenches. Yeah, Kool-Aid, Art Shell, Gene Upshaw, Dave Dalby, Henry Lawrence, FAMU graduate. Shout out to Mr. Henry Lawrence, who should be in the Hall of Fame. When you look at some of the greatest teams of all time, they've had some of the greatest offensive lines, and they always get overlooked. Terry Bradshaw don't get 4 rings without that offensive line he got in front of him.
Look,
a lot of people overlook the value of having a great offensive line. We always talk about the running game. We always talk about why the quarterback can't do this. If you can't control the line of scrimmage, your quarterbacks are never going to be able to pass, or you're never going to be able to run the ball, period.
Even Dallas, when they were winning Super Bowl, they had a top 4 offensive line, and everybody don't remember that.
Yeah. Well, think about it. One of our players that was on that team was a man by the name of Tony Casillas. Tony Casillas started off with us as a defensive lineman. He goes to Dallas. He starts off as a D lineman. He converts over to be an offensive lineman, and they go on that historic run. You look at it like You had Nate Newton, another FAMU graduate. Shout out HBCU again. You had Eric Williams, another HBCU graduate out of Central State University from right out of North Philadelphia. Then you had I always forget the other guys on that line. Larry Allen came later.
Ooh.
Larry Allen came later. He came in 93, 94. I'm sorry, he came in 94 when they won their third Super Bowl. That's when he came.
Hall of Famers.
Yep.
Even the 49ers.
Man, the 49ers have always had just steady offensive line play from their dominance from the 80s. Then they kind of fell off right around the 90s, and then they started building it back up. And you look at them now.
I mean, you either go all the way back to the Rams when they won their Super Bowl. You either go to the Patriots when they won five Super.
I'm gonna give you three of the best offensive tackles of all time.
Ooh.
Jake Matthews' daddy, Bruce Matthews. Bruce played every position on the line. That's why I say he's one of the best. And he's a matter of fact, he's another John Robinson product out of USC that won a national championship. And his teammate, you got Mr. Anthony Munoz, who played for the Bengals. That was another John Robinson product that was lined up with Bruce in college, and they played baseball together. And then I can't sit there and I can't forget about John Hanna, because Carl Mecklenburg talked about John Hanna the other day in the interview. Canton, Georgia guy, goes to Alabama, plays, and was one of the nastiest linemen. And I mean, off the field, he's one of the nicest guys. But you line him up on Sundays, I got a job to do. And guys were afraid of him.
Do you think the way they played back then, that they play like that today in the NFL? Or do you think
half of these guys would not last in the NFL back in the day? They won't. And I'm not taking away from these guys being great athletes now, but when you talk about guys that played with heart, played through pain, played with determination, and they weren't getting paid that much money like these kids are now. And when you look at it, the reason why the game has gone soft is because of the generation that's coming afterwards, and half of these dudes that's being raised the way that they're being raised right now. This generation doesn't know what going through adversity feels like. Generation doesn't know what really being in a fist fight is like. So when you talk about it, most of these guys you talk about on the offensive line from back in the day, they were just nasty. They were flat out nasty. And things that people cry and complain about now, they wouldn't last. Cut blocks, they took out a lot of things for offensive linemen, but the one thing that was one of the most deadliest weapons was that cut block. They made that illegal when they saw how many knees were getting taken out.
But that's why I'm saying, how can you play football, but you can't do so much from an offensive lineman part?
But here's the thing, Kool-Aid, the speed is different. The speed is different because the rule book is a lot thicker. That's the reason why the game is a lot faster, because guys aren't being slowed down. If you go back and look at it during the time, like you were saying, go back and look at these defensive linemen, go back and look at these offensive linemen. It was mainly fist fights. Quarterbacks literally had to run for their lives. They're comfortable. If you sack a quarterback, it's okay, I'm up. No, quarterbacks used to look like deers in headlights. If you hit quarterbacks the way that they used to hit them back in the day, man, please, these boys would be playing for free.
The what I'm saying. Today, NFL, if we go back in the day, today, NFL, like you just said, a lot of these players will not last. Back then, they did not care. They just had a job to do. Today, these players will not stand a chance. And
Oh, I get it, Kool-Aid. The speed is different because think about it too. This is something else a lot of people don't understand. Look at the padding that you see these guys wearing. They barely wear pads. Let's keep this a buck. Look at the NFL back then and look at it now. Guys would wear extra pads or whatnot because they would use them as weapons.
Right.
They all talked about that. Harry Carson, Hall of Fame linebacker. He said, I tried to get every extra pad I could because I'm using that as a weapon to hit you. Do this here.
Right.
But you can't hit guys like that no more. You just can't. Like, Ron, I'm going to give you an example. Go back to when wide receivers didn't get a free pass coming across the middle.
Ooh.
Let's talk about the safety play.
Ooh.
You got free safeties back in the day that would just obliterate you.
Right. Running lot. A Hall of Famer. Running lot used to knock people knock their hair off of their shoulder. Running lot. To me, in my opinion, one of the best safeties ever played the game. Let me see. Who else? I did name so many safeties back then.
Here's another one. I had Carl Mecklenburg on my show the other day, Broncos linebacker. And, you know, he and I were talking, and he talked about Steve Atwater and Dennis Smith and Mike Harden. He played with those three. Now, Mike Harden was one of the nastiest to hit. Brad's and the reason I say this, everybody remembers when Steve Atwater hit Christian Okoye. Everybody remembers that hit, but Steve was hitting everybody like that.
Yeah.
And Mecklenburg said, I would tell the running back to go down. He said, I would tell the running back to go down because I didn't want to get hit by Steve. He said, I got hit a few times and he said it hurt. He said it hurt. So and he tell the running back, go down, just go down. Now he tackled him, but he tell him to stop. And he said it was funny because it was a few guys that, you know, some Hall of Famers that actually would go down because they didn't want to get hit either.
Christian, what that running back name? Played for Kansas City. After that hit, he was never the same again. I'm sorry. That hit, he was never the same.
But I'm just saying, you can't hit guys like you used to. I missed that because guys, their awareness was a lot better. You saw guys literally trying to make stuff happen, you know. And I tell guys all the time, like, I don't even have to go back in the old school. I'm gonna bring it new school for you guys. Go look at Ed Reed in his prime. Look at Troy Polamalu in his prime. Bob Sanders in his prime. You know what I'm saying? When you look at some of the, and when you look at some of the safeties that were around at that time, like Rod Woodson, like a lot of people forget that Rod Woodson was a banger. Everybody thinks of him as that corner that talked trash and ran the 4-3. Rod would hit you.
Yeah. Light you up.
So, and I'm even go with the Falcons right now. I'm even go with our own team. Let's talk about it. Some of the safeties that we had that would take your head off. Tom Pridemore. He cost us the game in 1980, but Tom Pridemore was one of those guys that would just run through you. Then you have Ken Reeves. Ken Reeves, Norfolk State, one of the best corner / safeties we had that would tear your damn head off. Let's go future. Brian Jordan. He only played a few years with us, but Brian Jordan was a problem in that secondary. He just chose baseball. Then you got Willie Moe, Thomas Deku.
Willie Moe.
I'm not gonna say Keanu O'Neal because he missed more tackles than he made, but if he hits you, he puts you down. So I don't want to hear all that. So you start crying, I'm gonna pull out the Kleenex corner. I already said I'm about to start a part of this show called the Kleenex Corner for fans that want to whine and cry about this mess.
Neil, I like this Neil, but it just sometimes he just mess up. I like Neil. Come on, you the hit stick, baby. I'm sorry, Neil cannot be on that list. He can't. Whoever got a problem with that, look me up on Facebook. Lanier cannot
Don't
be on
start.
that.
No, listen. You ain't finna start no beef on here and get me flagged for you bullying
No,
somebody. No, hell
no,
no.
I'm
You ain't
not
about to start
bullying
that mess.
nobody.
Look, you ain't about to start that mess with me today.
I'm not
No, sir.
bullying nobody. I just saying people want Neil to be on that list. He can't be on that list. And I like Neil, but he cannot be on that list.
I got you on that, but I'm just saying we're naming guys that played in our team. But I'll give you this, man. Still to this day, I still think one of the most underrated safeties. I still say to this day, outside of is Doug Plank. We had him on our show. Doug Plank's one of the only men to hit Earl Campbell one-on-one.
Ooh.
And then there's another safety that played in Chicago by the name of Mike Brown. Mike Brown was a problem. He played with that Bears defense with Briggs, Urlacher, and those boys and helped them get to the Super Bowl. And another guy that I'm not going to forget about was Scott Case. We don't talk about Scott Case enough from the Falcons.
Ooh.
We don't talk about him enough
right now.
I see you. I tell you,
like
you was on my mind wave on that one. But
I would like to talk to Scott Casey right now and ask him about a few things.
He ended up leaving us and getting a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Got a ring with the Cowboys. And I feel like Scott Case was like one of the nastiest hitters you would ever see. So still to this day, fair use. I'm gonna go ahead I gotta bring up some Scott Case highlights for y'all, man. He was definitely one of the best enforcers that we had, and he could play. Fair use. That would have been targeting all day.
Right there too.
Warren Moon. And here's the thing. Scott Case was a guy, and I'm gonna stop it after this. So when you look at Scott Case, Scott is one of the most underappreciated safeties that we've had in our organization. They don't talk about him enough. They don't put him out there. And when you looked at the fact that Case was a guy that he brought it every day. It was a beautiful thing to see that. The one thing that I'll never understand, Ron, is this. When we look at safety play, everybody looks at the big hits. We all do, but no one looked at the fact, and I don't know if anybody paid attention to that. Scott Case wrapped guys up when he hit them. He had his arms around them when he brought them down and drove his feet. You notice the difference with these young kids now? A lot of these guys don't do that.
Yeah. They don't wrap up. And 9 times 10, you see these big game from these running backs or wide receivers or whatever, that the safety don't wrap up. They just want to make the big hit. And you cannot always make the big hit, just wrap up the running backs or the wide receiver, wrap them up. But some of them don't do that. So.
But all I can say is at this point, I just want to. Yeah, Adrian Wilson was a problem too. Yeah, he was a problem child too back in the day for the Cardinals. But you can't forget about the guy who taught him. It was Pat Tillman. Pat Tillman was hell at that safety spot. Respect to my fellow veteran out there, Mr. Pat Tillman. Rest in peace. But when you look at some of the guys that were out here, like receivers get free passes, bro. They get too many free passes for me. And no one talks about how everything has changed with the game. We all talk about different, how do we say it, different speeds of the game, but no one talks about what happens when things change.
Right.
The rules change, but you don't ever see guys get hit anymore. But I got one shot that I do want to show y'all. I want y'all to see one of the nastiest hits, and he got fined back in the day because it was nasty. This is Carl Mecklenburg's teammate. It's in honor of Broncos Falcons week, but I got to show a Bronco safety who was a hitter, because that's one thing I can say Denver always had was a safety that could hit, and it didn't matter when, if it was Atwater, Tony Lilly, Mike Harden, it did not matter. But fair use, fair use, fair use. This is Mike Harden's hit on the Hall of Famer Steve Largent.
It was a 12-yard post route in Denver. Dave Craig didn't look off the safety.
Craig on a play fake to Warner, back to pass, drills one up the right side.
It hit me right in the hands, and Mike Harden hit me right in the face with his forearm.
Wow.
And I was out before I hit the ground.
Largent is down after taking that hard shot to the head by Harden.
And boy, his head just snapped right back. Steve Largent took a mean lift.
You don't lead a guy into the middle like that.
So I'm going to tell you this here. That's what we call a hospital ball.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Largent still tells that story. He said he didn't eat solid food for about 2 weeks because his mouth was so messed up from that hit that Mike Harden put on him. He said he had to eat soup, and he also drank a lot of smoothies at that time just to stay nourished or whatnot. He said it would hurt to bite down on his mouthpiece. So for about 2 weeks, he didn't wear a mouthpiece. That was how bad that shot was. And he had a concussion at that point too. So Mike Harden gets fined. Yeah, he got fined. So back in the day, $5,000 was a lot of money because they weren't making like the unless you were like a John Elway and all the top tier guys. They were not making, all I can say is they were not making that money like that. But he got fined for that hit. And that's in the 80s he got fined for that. And nobody used to get fined for hitting folks like that. So when you look at that, I think that element, wide receivers don't fear. Yeah, that was another good one. That was in Super Bowl IX that Jack Tatum hit Sammy White, Grambling State alumni. I hate Grambling, by the way. I love Southern University. Respect the HBCUs, but that's a rival, so I can't stand it. So watching a Grambling guy get his jock strap knocked loose, I love it. But Sammy White was a hell of a wide receiver in his own right, though. He was one of the best in Minnesota's history till Randy Moss broke all of his records. But I'll say this, though. I think wide receivers now, they have no fear of coming across the middle anymore. They just run. It's like they get tackled, but they don't really get clocked anymore. And I feel like you've taken away from what a safety's position really is.
It's the way I said, I think we should go back to the old school. Man.
With certain things. Not everything, certain stuff.
Right, certain things. Let me make that clear. Because now a safety, you don't know how to go at a wide receiver or a running back. Because they got so many rules now today. If you hit a running back at the knee or whatever, they're gonna try to kick you out of the game.
So it's very hard when you sit back and you look at how the game is right now. And I don't deny that at all, Kool-Aid. Eddie Robinson is the GOAT to me. 9 national championships, over 200 players sent to the NFL, and 4 Hall of Famers, possibly getting ready to be a 5th with Everson Walls. And he had the first black quarterback that played for him that won a Super Bowl, and Doug Williams. I'm I'm okay with that. I'm okay with him being the GOAT. I'm fine with that. I respect Eddie Robinson. I just don't like Grambling because I'm a Southern guy. So, hey, it's a rivalry. But I love me some Coach Rob because without him, we wouldn't have a lot of the guys that got the opportunities if he wasn't in that position. So respect to Coach Rob, man. The real GOAT.
I want to ask you, you've been watching a lot of college football for a long time. Who is the best safety in college right now?
That's hard. For me, that's hard to say because some of the best players in the college game right now are playing for bad teams. They're playing for bad teams. And it's hard for me to say because there's so many of them out there that are really good. You understand what I'm saying? I can't say there's a best safety in college right now because there's so much parity. You're seeing guys all over the place. There's no just one dominant player. It's so many good ones out here right now.
So can you separate them from the bad team? Like, I know we say a lot of these bad teams, they trash, they this, they that, but they got some good players on that team. So how can we separate the player from that team and be like, oh, he legit, but the team is bad?
All right, okay. So there's a kid, and this is just me. To me, I feel like the best safety I've seen this year, no disrespect to Malachi Starks because I love my Bulldogs, but the best safety that I think is in the country is Malachi Starks out of Alabama. The reason I say that, he's one of those guys that can change a game just like that. He can change a game with one big play. And again, you got Shiloh Sanders at Colorado, who's good. He's starting to figure things out. Kendall Daniels Jr. is a monster at that spot from Oklahoma State. You got Kevin Winston Sr. out of Penn State. I've watched him. Jeremiah Cooper out of Iowa State. And I'll give you this here. There's a kid out of South Alabama. His name's Jaden Voisin. He's out of, and Corey. So those are guys, and that's just a few guys that I'm naming, but that's D1. I ain't even talking about HBCU college ball. That's just one ball. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I'll give you this here. The strongest talent this year that's returning for black colleges right now it's got to be the safety position. It's just what it is. When you look at the landscape, because the way that the game is played, it's a bunch of speed. It's just a lot. It's a lot. And when you look at some of the top players in the country, the HBCU top prospects, it's just like, wow. It's like, wow, you just sit back and say, well, some of these guys are going to be seen when, how can I put it? Some of these guys are going to be seen when the draft and the combine happen. That's when it's going to be.
Right. So
that's going to be.
Let me ask you this. If you the Falcons, do you let Justin Simmons go and draft a safety, or do you keep Justin Simmons and still draft a good safety?
It depends on how much he's talking. It depends on how he's talking, because I'm gonna give you a kid that I would look at bringing into Atlanta. Even if you don't bring him as a high draft pick, you bring him in and you give him a chance. You got two safeties right now out of the HBCU ranks. There's a kid by the name of Kenny Gallup out of Howard University. And then you got Kobe Merritt out of Fayetteville State. Those are two guys that I've looked at, and I really think that they're two of the best in the country at that safety position. And when you look at it, and there's a kid, and there's one more kid, a guy out of Winston-Salem State by the name of Justin Fleming. You have options to bring in bring in guys that's not going to cost you much money, but you're also still giving guys out of historically black colleges and universities an opportunity to ball, because it's a ton of talent that's out there, bro. but don't
So,
nobody, but no one wants to spotlight it. The only time people paid attention to HBCUs is only when Deion Sanders was there.
what?
The only time people did.
And that's
No, I don't have
sad
any highlights
because
on them right now.
that's sad because, like you just said, we got a lot of good players at those schools, but they don't get the recognition like all the top schools do, like the Georgia, the Bama, the Kentucky, the Tennessee Volunteers. All these top schools, they get the recognitions, but not the small schools.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion.
But I've been telling people the whole time that I think that the most dangerous thing you can do is put guys in a position to where you're not going to give them a chance. You're going to have those guys hungry. So by the time the season, so here's the thing, because StreamYard is acting up again, I see. So by the time the draft comes around, I'm going to have footage on those guys like I always do. I'm going to have footage on those guys. And when I put that stuff out here, you'll get to see, some of the talent, because yesterday you had Clark Atlanta playing in the SAIC championship yesterday against Miles College. Miles beat them down, but all I could say is it was just, it was a tough game, but hey, that was their first year coming with a new coach, a new system, and they were winning. But the other thing I'm going to say is this before we wrap this thing up. You got to start giving some of these guys chances. Some of the guys that go to black colleges, they have grades, they have grade issues, or, it's no different than a kid going to JUCO trying to play ball. It's no different. These guys have grade issues. Guys have, might have gotten in trouble or something happens, but they get another opportunity to play. So when you look at it, I feel like we need to open up more doors. Yeah, we got them on the roster, but here's my thing. You need to have more coming in, because there's a lot of guys you're bringing in from these big time schools that are trash, and they can't adapt. So at this point, Kool-Aid, me and you rivals, dog. Don't do that. Shout out to Jackson State, JSU, man. But we rivals with JSU too. But like I told you, my favorite player of all time came out of Jackson State, Mr. Walter Payton. Rest in peace. 25 years as of November the 1st that he passed away. So 16 days away from that, and that was the day I went to boot camp, ironically.
Wow.
Yep. So it was a surreal moment, but I feel like this, and I'm gonna wrap this up, and we're gonna get ready for this game in a few hours. Our scouting department can't just look and can't just bring guys in as undrafted free agents. If you're gonna bring them in, sometimes you might want to get you a 6th or 7th round pick, and you can hit a home run with that. Start drafting some of these guys, because if you look at it, you got Kadero Hodge, Prairie View A&M. You got Chris Blair, another Alcorn State / Prairie View A&M type of guy. Again, there's so much talent out here that we're passing on a lot of the talent that could possibly help us win when we need it. Because they're going to play. Here's the thing, guys that come out of black colleges or small Division II schools, they're going to play with more of a chip on their shoulder because no one's giving them a chance. So without further ado, man, I thank you for pulling up. William, thank you for pulling up as well, my brother. This is going to conclude the pregame meal. We are looking to have the party line probably around like 7:05, 7:15-ish or whatnot after the ball game, maybe a little earlier than that, depending on how fast the game goes. But we're looking to have a dub, having a party line. We're not looking to have another benediction this week. We got to bounce back going into this bye week, fellas and ladies that are tuning in.
We need it.
So, yeah, Cam's dad did play at Savannah State with Shannon Sharp and the comedian / mayor of Washington, Mr. Reddy Red. So, But thank y'all for tuning in this week. We appreciate y'all for coming through. Y'all check us out every Sunday before every Falcons game. We're not going to have a pregame meal next week because it's a bye week. We're going to pretty much take a week off just like our Falcons. So We appreciate y'all coming through. Let's get this dub, and we'll see you guys coming into next week. We love y'all, and we'll see y'all next week. Peace.